Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be looking at how to heat a Crested Gecko's tank for winter. So many of you guys are in a similar situation as me. It's getting colder, especially at night, and sometimes a bit too cold for the geckos. Now, a heat mat isn't really sufficient. A bright heat lamp can only really be on in the daytime, and red lights have been known to disrupt many reptiles' sleep patterns as well as irritating their eyes. So what can we do? Well, I bought a ceramic heat emitter. This is pure infrared, so it just produces heat. As well as the ceramic heat emitter, I have a dome fitting which will help direct the heat into the tank, although I must say, I think I ordered one that was a little bit too big. I also bought a thermostat. Now, the thermostat is both expensive but really important. So I purposely picked the 40-watt ceramic bulb from Exoterra because it emits the least heat out of the entire range, which is perfect for a Crested Gecko's tank since the tank generally only needs to be heated up just a little bit. Now, according to the information provided, the hottest the ceramic heater gets is 98 degrees Fahrenheit, which is too hot for a Crested Gecko. The ideal hottest temperature I want is about 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and to get that temperature the gecko would have to be 30 centimetres away from the heater, which is completely impractical. So this is where the thermostat comes in. As you know, and a lot of people including myself will tell you, Crested Geckos do fine in room temperature. This is true to a certain degree, literally. And room temperature generally means about 20 degrees Celsius, so 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if we look at annual average temperatures in parts of New Caledonia where Crested Geckos are found, we can see, on average, this is the temperature for the coldest months of the year, which is July and August. The rest of the year ranges from about 70 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21 to 26 degrees Celsius. From my experience, my gecko's tanks only really reach those temperatures during June and August, so we must focus on raising the temperature a little bit for the other months. With a thermostat, this allows us to actually mimic the temperatures these animals would experience in the wild by just looking at the local data and simply altering the temperature gauge. For example, we're currently in October, soon to be November, so we could set this to 72 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 22 to 23 degrees Celsius. Now, these may be very subtle differences, but I really think they can make a difference, especially at night, when my room gets down to 62 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 17 to 18 degrees Celsius. Also, a big reason why I'm trying this out personally is because Isla still hasn't laid her eggs. So I'm actually going to hopefully mimic the temperatures that Crested Geckos would experience in the wild during breeding season. So hopefully this will prompt her to lay her eggs. Let's hope it does, but for now, let's set everything up. So it is a couple hours later actually, and I set everything up. Obviously, the dome thing was a little bit too big, so it does overlap on the plastic a bit, but fortunately, because we aren't heating something like to a very high degree, it's been fine so far on the plastic. So no melting or anything, luckily, but obviously the actual light unit gets quite hot. Now, I put the probe for the thermostat behind this branch. I've sort of tried to hide it a bit because it's really annoying when you have wires and everything in the tank. And what I had to do is sort of tie it on with what I call catgut. We used to always call it catgut, and it's just like really see-through, strong string. I don't know if it actually has a proper name. A lot of people use it for like beading and jewellery work. But anyway, I had to tie the thermostat probe to that because it kept falling down the back a bit, so that was annoying. I have set the temperature between 24 and 26 degrees. As I said, this is mainly because I need Isla to lay these eggs. So this area is meant to reach about 24, 26 degrees. When you're heating up your tank, you do not want the entire tank to be the ideal hottest temperature you're aiming for, because you need a temperature gradient. So there's the area that reaches the highest amount that you want, so in this case say 26 degrees here, But if the gecko goes here, or goes there, or goes down, it gets cooler and cooler the further she's able to move away from the heat source. This is very important because reptiles are ectotherms, they rely on heat for energy, but they must have a warm and a cold area separate. So I'm hoping if she needs that extra heat for her egg situation, she can go on this branch, she can go near the background and heat up, but if she doesn't and she doesn't really like the heat, she can escape from that. Now you may be wondering, is this really worth it? Is it worth the money? Because honestly this cost me about £70, then I had a £5 off gift voucher, so it's £65. It's quite a bit of money for a heat source that only raises the temperature by a few degrees. If you're lucky enough to live in a place that's still warm this time of year, then you probably don't need this. However, if you are like me and you live in a place that gets cold, especially at night, I can see a lot of benefit in this, because once again, if we look at those temperatures in New Caledonia, they do stray away from what a lot of people commonly say, saying room temperature's fine. You can see there are some like hot times of the year that probably don't get reached quite as often when people are caring for crested geckos. So I think right now for us, if we put our arm in the tank, we're not going to notice much of a difference because the temperature is not really that high. But I definitely feel like at night this is definitely going to benefit, because my room is so cold at night that my water remains chilled because it's so cold. So I definitely think this is going to be great at night. Not as much of an impact in the day, but hopefully keeping a consistent temperature for my crested gecko will help her pass these eggs. It also tends to increase their appetite, which is always really good. But yes, I hope this video has helped. Remember, if you're going to get a light and everything, make sure you do your research on what did you want, because you don't want anything that gets too hot. And although thermostats are expensive, if I didn't have one right now, this tank would be far too hot. So anyway, oh, and one last thing before I go, I did take Isla out of the tank whilst I was installing this, because you never know, this light could have got too hot, it could have even melted the plastic, who knows, it could have gone terribly wrong. So I didn't want her to be in there whilst I was setting this up, but I will move her in a minute. One last thing, I just came to see Isla, just walked past her tank, and she's right at the top where it's nice and warm. So I think that tells you something. Pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and goodbye.